So what I want to ask you is, what was it growing up? And by the way, this environment is right at in the very early age, not
Yeah.
later.
Right.
So what was it that in your environment growing up that made you a good networker and good communicator?
I mean, this is really not what you would expect somebody to say, but I think being an only child was a huge help for me. Um, I think that I grew up incredibly close to my parents and with my family, but I was ultimately, I was sent to schools and camps my whole life for sports and all these things by myself. And I was always forced to make friends everywhere I went because I was never much of a loner. I'm fine with spending time by myself. I've no problems being alone, and sometimes I prefer it, but I was forced in that environment very often growing up. And whether it was because I'd go to school and then after school care, whatever it was, and I was put into a lot of environments where I was basically forced to network or just be a loner. And I always chose to make friends. And I've taken it upon myself several times to move to cities where I don't know anybody for a couple months, couple years, whatever it is, and you're forced to meet people. And I've just grown to enjoy it.
Well, you are the perfect example of getting something good out of something not so good, being the only child, being alone, and then you leverage that and actually turned it into a strength.
It's funny, yeah. The stigma is always the loner, social, awkward, spoiled, only child. A lot of negative stigmas that come with that, but I've found it to be useful.
Yeah. I mean, it's well, when did you realize that you wanted to do that, or was it because you can't, when you look back, say, "Oh, this is why I did this," but probably at the time, the first time it happened to you, that wasn't an easy situation, and then you started to think about it and then started to do the right things. When was that first time that you realized?
I honestly didn't really pick up on it a ton until college or maybe just after. I think that I always had a lot of friends growing up and in high school and early college, but I didn't really view it as any form of like a networking skill or something that I really enjoyed doing. I didn't think twice about it until I started actually attending marketing conferences as an intern in college. And at that point, I realized that it was something that I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. It's amazing, isn't it? How life throws you at situations and then you kind of make use of them and come out.
Yeah, I think it's funny a lot, or the only other thing I can think of is a lot of the time it's a kid's worst nightmare to be sent to a new school where they don't know anybody and they have no friends. It seems intimidating. And I would see that happening in shows and movies, and I thought it looked great. I always wanted that to happen to me. Like my family make me move out of town and go to a new school where I didn't know anybody. I thought it seemed so fun.
Well, I mean,